because tourism having grown, especially with the 2010 World Cup, we suddenly had a sort of a boost in numbers, and thereafter steady growth. Flattened, of course. We didn't shoot up every year as we did with around the World Cup, but it took us up to a higher level. Then in 2014, when I was appointed the Minister of Tourism, two things happened. First was the introduction of quite onerous visa requirements, especially affecting visa-exempt countries like Germany, like most European countries, and the UK, with quite onerous requirements for minors, for children under the age of 18, especially traveling with single parents or single adults. So that was a challenge, and I can tell you a little bit how we've dealt with that challenge, because we end up on a high. We end the 5 years on a high, but it was a difficult start, and it did impact negatively on our tourism numbers, and it did a lot of reputational damage, because people didn't necessarily know about this requirement. A lot of trauma, people arriving at the airport and being turned away, which they'd never experienced, especially the non-visa requiring countries, where they'd never had any difficulty coming to South Africa. People not aware that they had to do these sorts of things, arrive at the airport and they're turned away. Thank you. And then not of our making, in the same way as what happened last year, that is the Cape Town drought, not of our making, but the Ebola outbreak in 2015 had quite a serious impact on tourism. So what was then called the unabridged birth certificate requirement, it kicked in 2015, and the Ebola kicked in 2015 as well, and we saw a dramatic decline in tourism numbers. Ebola, of course, completely not of our making and completely unfair, because South Africa did not have a single case of Ebola, but the perception is there, So, if it's in Africa, then it's probably in South Africa as well, and that we're at risk. So we had quite a decline in 2015, then a steady increase after that. Ebola finished, people more or less settling down to the unabridged birth certificate requirement. Meanwhile, we were taking it on in the sense I was taking it on as minister quite rigorously, to say this is causing damage, with a lot of support from our now president, who was then deputy president. And then things happened in the life of our country, and I was dropped for a period as the Minister of Tourism, and so there's no real progress in that attempt to address some of these issues. Then I was, by President Ramaphosa, I was brought back, and we've made very good progress since then. So fortunately, the requirements for children under the age of 18, we've now brought that completely in line with what is practiced in other countries like the UK, Canada, etc. It's been a long road, but at this stage, not only have the regulations completely changed, the advisories have been sent out, and just about a week ago, IATA finally sent out the correct advisory to airlines. So I think that is now something of the past. During these 5 years, we've done quite a lot to make South Africa a more tourism-friendly country and enhance the experience. We've invested in a lot of places in our country as part of what we call a destination enhancement program. We, in the course of these 5 years, working with the private sector, and I think I should highlight that, we've really established a strong and good, healthy working relationship with the industry, between SA Tourism, the Department of Tourism, the Ministry, and the private sector, as represented by the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. But you'll feel it here. There's no tension between government and business here. They feel that there might be little moments, but generally they feel that there's been a very supportive ministry, and that there's a partnership. So we end, I think, on a high, with a strong commitment by our president, who will be here tomorrow morning, by the way. I don't know if you'll have the chance to ask him questions, but I think he will emphasize the further advances that we still have to make it easier for people to come to South Africa, as in visa reforms. And the move towards a world-class e-visa system.